Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to today's live stream. I want to start by saying that yesterday night, actually, yesterday's stream is removed because there was just an issue with some of the stuff that was shown there, and it'll be a little bit redundant for what's going to happen today. So I just went ahead and deleted it. Reason being was after I can't remember if I did this online or not, but after I finished the stream yesterday, I noticed that what I wanted to do was actually being done through the method that I found. However, I do have to customize it. Um, so without further ado, I'll just go ahead and show you guys what I mean. So I think it was free code camp. What could go wrong? So this might be it here. Excuse me. Still got some here we go. Still got some fluids in my throat from dinner. But what I was looking for is actually this is pretty much all of the code that was provided. What I ended up doing was I found this guy's GitHub, and on the GitHub, he has a npm library already easily available for us. So I ended up using that, but the problem with that was I didn't have the ability to customize, so I pretty much installed it there. And when I did that, it worked in the way that I desired, but it didn't have, again, I didn't have the customizations ability that I would have had if I continued doing what I was doing before. So now I'm going back to do that. So in this particular video, I will have solved this. At least that is the goal. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm actually recreating the components that we had going on in here. Thought I just deleted this. Oh no, I didn't. I want to do. Let me do it ls. I'm just trying to clean up my folder directly stuff. So sorry about that. So this is the not the one error handling component. So let me go ahead and remove this. There's nothing in there, so I shouldn't have a problem. So do error handling dash component, and then I just gotta do remove dash r, I believe, because it's not a file, so I should be able to just do that. Yep, there we go. So now when I go to this error handler, this is everything that's going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the, actually I'm missing one more thing. I need to do the H service, and not really sure what I'm put the service, so I'll put it in like a, well, I'll put it down here in the rest with the rest of the services, because this is a service for auth, so I'll keep everything consistent. And actually I'll just rename this one to, actually I'm not going to do it here, I'm going to do it through code, do it through the terminal. For some reason I don't think I have like the admin privileges, so I don't even want to screw that up. So let me look for, where are we? We're seeing admin, so I'm going to get into admin. So I'm going to go down here and jump into admin, and then admin I should be able to get to the services. CD, jeez. Oh, I think it's outside of admin. So let me just do cd dot dot. Then check down here. Go back one more. This might be too far up. Oh nope, that's perfect. CD services, server change directory ls, and then here I'm only seeing. Oh, we gotta get into this auth thing. Now in here I can see all of the ones, and the only thing I want to do is rename. I forget the thing for renaming, so I'm just gonna go here and do a rename. I should have did Linux command to use move to rename a file, blah blah blah. How to rename a file, how to rename a directory. This is what I really want. So type the following command to rename a folder to bar move. So this is the old folder, new folder. So I can literally do it just like that. So let's just go ahead and do that. And actually I wanted it to be a file, not a folder. I think it might be the same way though. Rename file. And again, the reason why I'm doing it through the terminal is because you guys have seen that when I try to do it on the sidebar, it just gives me errors. So I'm just going to change that. So let's go here. So it's the same concept really. So now I'm just going to go MV, which is like moving it, and then I'm going to do admin, and then all that should just pick up. And then I want this to be called error handler. Let's make it simpler, right? Error dash handler. And I need to do dot service dot ts. So now when we check this out, you get error handler service dot ts, which is exactly what we wanted. So now I can import this, and this is probably going to be so this is actually not where I thought it was going to be. So I need to change this here, and I need to call this, what was the name of that thing? Control Z, error handler service. So let's Control C this, copy, and then here I'll just call it, actually I like admin error handler service. This is going to be the name for it, because in the code it gives you a way to make this modular so that each module can have its own error handler if desired. And that's what I want to do, because the admin stuff is going to be completely different than what's going to be in the users facing stuff. So now that we have that in place, I just need to go and change this to admin, and there we go. Actually, I'm going to delete this import and then let it be re-imported, so that way it clears itself up. There we go. And that's all. Pretty much this is still the stuff that we had from previous code that was written. And with this, there's actually a few things that I need to import that I need to create that I didn't have before, which is why I wasn't seeing what I was looking for. So what I need to do is I need to go into this library. The components are already there, so I don't need that. I just want to show you guys what I'm doing. Constants. So here, this guy created a few constants that I didn't have. So, excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and grab these constants, and I'll even just put them in their own folder. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm just going to call it constants, because no point in keep doing, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't have to keep saying error handler constants, because it's already in the folder, so I can just be a little bit more flexible with the wording. And then new file, and what is the name of the file? Error handler constants, right? So it'll be error, oops, new file, error dash handler dash constants dot ts. I think it's something else in there, but let's see. Error handler dot constants. There we go. So dot constants dot ts. I'm going to do it here just because you guys know the drill. Admin, nope. cd dot slash admin. Can I get there? Nope. So do I gotta go one more level? Let me see what's happening here. Nope. ls cd app. That's why. So I go app admin, and then I need to go to error. Jeez. Maybe it's outside of that. So instead of admin, error handling. There we go. Error handling, and let's go to constants. Cool. And now here we're going to change the name of this to be, and this is the only file on there, so we can just do error dash handler dot constants dot ts. And now we've changed the name of that file, and I can just Control V with all the stuff that's in here. And pretty much the only thing that this does is it just says if we're going to have a backdrop when we create our overlay, because that's what we're going to do. I'm sorry I deleted everything before everything got started, because I was trying to actually have it re-implemented and just kind of go over it with you guys, but I had dinner, so that ate some time. So so right now, this is pretty much all only thing you guys have to worry about for right now. I'll do my best to go over this in as much detail as possible once everything is all glued together. It's just a bit over, not say over my head, but it's a bit much to try to just go into, half-assed. So I want to take my time with that. And these actually should have been imported there. So default error handler config. Let me check this constants thing we just created. That's not this one. So default overlay config. Default. So yeah, okay. So these are the things that I'm going to be looking for. That's really what I was looking for when I was doing this, but it seems like he's got some other constants or something else in here. So error handler config.ts. I think this is it here. No, it should be overlay config. Default overlay config. And these are being called in here. Because he's got something error handler config, and that's coming from the interfaces. So let me get these handled first, and then should have a lot less to worry about. So this is everything here. So I'm going to grab this as well. So I'm going to grab this overlay config, and then now everything should kind of work itself back together. So let me see here. So I'm going to create another folder in here called interfaces. New file, yeah, I'll call it new folder, and this will be interfaces. And even though there's only one, it's just nicer to just have a folder for it, so that way if you do expand upon it, you already have the structure in place. And then what do we call this thing? Error handler dot interfaces, interface really, yeah, interfaces dot ts, and then control V. Yeah, so same setup. So I can go ahead and save this now, and then interfaces, let's go back to the lab, and we've already got components and everything in place. I'm gonna go up one level because I want to see if there is something in here for that. I'm not seeing it, so let me see if I can find a reference for these. Oh, so yeah, right here saying overlay.config. And then if I get rid of these, right, we can see if these exist somewhere else, which they don't. So let me go for, I'm just going to provide error handler config. Provide, let me do Angular error handler config. Oh, that didn't work. Error handler config, just to try to figure out where these came from. And if I can't find it, I can always go into Angular's source code and do it that way as well. And that seems like the way I might have to go, because I can't find any of this stuff. And I don't think I had to import the overlay here. So that is cool. So let's look into these. Default error handler config. I don't think I have that as well. Let me see if these were defined somewhere else. Error handler default, nope, default overlay config. Error handler config is right there. Oh, that's not the same. So let me see if I can find these in the source code over here before I go to Angular. So what I'm going to have to do here, okay, that's different. Lib error handler config.ts. This is what I need as well, so I'm going to go ahead and grab this. So what I'm going to have to look up is this error injection token, because I'm not really sure what that means. It's like I can guess at what it is, but I don't. It still wouldn't do justice if I don't know exactly what it is, if that makes sense. So let's go ahead and create this file as well. And the only thing I'm going to do is go in here, create another folder called config. I just want to keep it from having it. I know it looks messy because you're like, oh, if I want to look into something, I go down to all these extra folders. But I can understand if somebody was like, hey, it doesn't make sense to have it this deep, but it just makes your code look structured and neat and organized. Somebody else reading this, it will be a pain to go through and get everything, but it does save you a lot of it. The easier your structure is to read, the better. So that's pretty much all that's happening here. And this file is actually good to go. So let's see if anything came. So now I can import this one. Oh, cool. So now I got them. So I did not have to go to Angular, and this error handler config is what we got here. And let's look at this injection token. So create a token that can be used in a DI dependency injection provider. So what that means is it's saying it's literally creating the structure for something like this. How we have error handler, which is something that is actually injected into your code, and it just means that it's code that relies on other code. It's like, okay, instead for your error handler, use this, right? Code, and it's stuff that already exists. So it's like swapping out parts in a car, and you just have to map it out and say what goes where. In this particular case, we created, we made our error handler here service dependent on a configuration, and this configuration pretty much creates an injection token to do some things. And pretty much for this injection token, it's taken whatever this is. I don't really know what that means. I think this is something that the guy created himself. I'll look into that later because I can probably change it. I know his name has these characters in it, so this may be, yeah, so it's like the guy's name, his error handling config. So I think that's all that's happening there. I can always change it to, I can say we, right, and change it. And then before I did that, I should have did btp dash eh. So it doesn't seem like anything in the code is relying on that. So, but I'm going to change it back just in case, and then I'll customize it later. Right, as at this point right now, I want to make sure everything is exactly as it is in the source. What else did I need to do? I think that was it for that. So now I can go into setting up the component itself. And let's go back to the library. We already got the module. We need to set up the service though. So we're also going to have to digest the service and see exactly what's happening in here. And I'll use the guide that he created to walk through that and go from there. So this is the service, which is actually down here. So what I'm going to do is take all of this, remove it, and just paste in what he has. Everything. Oh, I forgot he created some sanitizers. So this stuff is going to get a little messy. And actually, I can remove some of this stuff. So I know I can remove this, because these things are already created, and removing them will actually help streamline the process for importing all of the missing imports. So there we go. And then now we just have to get this sanitize error in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the sanitizer in here as well. And pretty much you can think of a sanitizer as something that's going to manipulate the structure for us, so that way we get our error message in the exact format that we desire. I believe that's what a sanitizer does. It's like stripping away information that you don't want to go out, or in this particular case, you don't want to come in. So I'm gonna create another folder in here, and it'll be sanitizer. And I can't remember if it was a component or a server. Oh, I don't think it's a component, but We'll see in a second. Not seeing that one. So let's go a little higher back. And I've been streaming for 20 minutes and I didn't do a sound check, so forgive me for looking at my phone for this. Oh, I think this is the same video, so cool. Oop, can't even hear myself. Oh yeah, I sound fine. So I don't know why, but I'm very paranoid about my sound check, just because of there were some videos I did previously where I was not checking my sound, and then I just have a video of like it was terrible. I haven't deleted those videos because I don't want to delete them and then have to because I want to remaster this at some point. So I want to keep the source videos and all that, so that way when I do this again, it's more concrete. If I miss a step, then I won't know. So actually, I'm gonna go here and figure out how to do sanitizer because I don't see it. So let me look for. I don't think I had to do this part, but I did have to do this thing. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, this is already created somewhere as well. Yes, it is. So I can actually, I don't even need this folder that I created. So that's perfect actually. So now let me go here. Let me go cd. And I gotta do dot dot because if you just type change directory by itself, it's gonna take you all the way back to this place here, which is literally like at the top of your structure, your file structure anyway. And then we're just gonna remove this sanitizer folder because we don't need it, but I gotta do -R because when you do the -R, that's for folders, so you gotta make sure it's a recursive thing because that's just what it expects. So now we go here, it's gone. So now we've got everything here, I believe, that we need. I may be wrong. Wait a minute now. So now it's can't find admin air handler service. That service is here, but it can't. Oh, I see. Admin air handler service. Excuse me. And then now I'm gonna go here. There we go. So I believe that was everything for this. And now for the moment of truth. Admin air handler. Let me refresh because this should be working. Nope, still not liking it. So let me go back over here, check the problems here. Property dismissed does not exist on type air handler component. Oh, okay. So I gotta do an F2 on this and just put an admin in front of this because I didn't update those. And let me save. Actually, we want this to end with a space at the end, and I believe the same thing here. Oops, same thing here. And now they're missing this dismiss thing, and as you see, it's still expecting that error handler component. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to type error handler component, and unfortunately, yeah, here we go. So I thought that most of these would have still had the original admin stuff on there, but I can just change this now. That's why the error message was still a bit wrong. So I'm just going to pull that out. And when I go down over here to import it, just give it a second. I'll have everything fixed. So same thing here. Do admin air handler component. And there we go. Wait, nope. So oh, I see. So in the component, I gotta change the name. I didn't change the name on the component. So here, I'm gonna change this name. Admin air handler component. Save. And now I should be able to fix it. There we go. Quick fix. add all missing imports. Cool. And then let me save that. And then fix this as well. Boom. Save that one. And now here, property dismiss. That should actually exist on the component. So let me go over to the original and check that. And am I missing something here? I don't know at which point I was at with this. So as of right now, the error handling component is expecting this template in here. Oh, I see. So this is the selector he created for it. Again, I'm going to leave all this the same for right now, just because I don't have any code in place. For our error handler component, however, I did leave I did create HTML file, so I can actually just go ahead and use this and put in the code that he had in place in its place. And what that also means is that I have to look for the update on that error handler component. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit Control F and I'm going to do error handler component, and I want to find the last reference, I think, because if I find the last reference, that's the one that was the one that was updated last. You know, obviously last updated one. Selector on this thing is going to be this. I don't know if this part is important or not, because I don't think we're really using the selector on it. You just gotta have it for when you're creating this thing. So drop that in there. So now I save it again, and I don't think I did any SAS or anything like that, so I think we're good there. Identifier error. As of right now, we didn't create any error stuff that's going on this, so I think that's what the problem is here. Let me, oh, did I go too far? So in here, all good. This is what we need here. So this is the part that was missing. So I can just go ahead and grab this and drop this right inside the core of the component. And when I say the core, I mean here, I believe. Yep. So this is, oh, it's pissed because we removed the implementation of on init. Oh. Okay, whatever. There we go. So what's the problem here? We don't have to implement on init. That's what the issue is here. So now that we're not implementing on init, we need to import some stuff. Add all missing imports, and everything's happy. And there are no errors. So I think we're good. I think. We will find out in a second. So let me check the one over here in the terminal. Oh, we're not even running right now. cd dot dot cd dot dot. Actually, I'm gonna run Angular over here as well. I want to check the terminal. I want to check over here again, because it seems like it's connected to something, but I don't think it is, and it'll tell us here. So if I hit this and do a refresh, so somewhere over here is connected to our port, but I don't. Oh, I forgot. We have another window down in here. There we go. So right here, it's telling us the import admin error handler for the service is not working, and this is where the module TS, so error handling module TS, actually source admin module TS cannot find module admin error handler service. Oh, I forgot I changed the name. This should be, actually, where is the name for this thing? src services slash auth error handler service. I'm gonna stop this and rerun it. Seems like there's some disconnect going on there because I believe I already updated that, and I need to do setup. I need to do npm. No, not npm. I need to just type Angular. So I'm not sure if you guys have already been watching some of the previous videos, but I pretty much created some shortcuts for me to do this stuff. So what this does is it changes the directory all the way up to the project folder that I'm currently in, and then it just runs the npm start command for me, so I don't have to type all that stuff every time I want to work. And then here I think I need to have service after that. Admin error handler. So I need to figure out where this is, because I see the error but I'm not comprehending where it's located. And it's saying and this is in the admin. Oh, this is in the admin module, so that's why I was a little confused. So if I go up here, and I don't even think I imported that anywhere. Yeah, so that's what was missing. And now everything's building. Cool. So now we've got something that works. And what I'm just going to do is I'm going to see if it's working. Cool. So this is what the error handler is giving us. This is everything that's going out. But I don't want all this stuff. The header I don't really need. I just want the status code, the status text, and this error object is actually what I want to see. So I think I need to define what that object is. So what I want to do first is say I want to do HTTP error response error showing as object, because this is where the data is, and I want to get this back. So I want to figure out if I can type this error, so that way when it actually goes out I can get it. How to get body from HTTP. So if I click on this, right, and then we get this, so right now it doesn't really show us what's going on. Oh, that's because there's headers. So when we look at the HTTP error response, it has this thing, but it can be anything, right? But it's showing up as an object. So I want to get this object, and I'm not exactly sure how to get it right now. So what I'm thinking of doing is first, let's go up into the service. Actually, let me check out this. So this is where all the details go, right? So we get this part, error. Let's go. Let's start with the service. See what the service gives us. So this is where it's stripping. I'm trying to find out where it strips out the error. So this is where it gets key error key. Is this it here? No. So this is how it's creating all this stuff. It's taking all the keys and it's just it's printing those out. So over here, I think, yeah, it's using a map, and in this map, a map is just a key value pair. And it's turning it back into a string. However, we're still seeing object. So I want to see how we can get these properties to show. Angular error handler, Angular HTTP error response error object. So I just want to figure out if we can get that object for the error. Otherwise, I'm gonna have an issue. So I'm HTTP to catch answers, displaying a modal besides error code and message. I would also like to show the body of the response, which actually holds a more precise description of the error. How can I achieve this in Angular? I already looked at related questions, but errors like HTTP or similar don't work for me. Also, when inspecting the error response in the console, okay. Error. The body should be available in error.error property. So the problem there is we're not getting that. So let me do this. Let me do response.error. Error. There we go. Look at that. So I'm trying to look down here to see if it anything is a little bit more precise. And I think it probably would have been better if I did this. Put it in brackets, as we see. And only thing it's saying is, hey, you have an error object of type object. It just calls it object, right? So if I made this caps, this would fit everything that's happening here. Let's check this one. Pretty recipe, but when there's no file available, server may request, but I'm not able to parse that error message from body. HTTP errors giving a blob error. Yep, blob object. How do I get the actual body? Parameter observe response lets you read the full response, including the headers. And that might actually be what I need, because as of right now, when we look at the request over here in post service, when we look at the request, they do give us that option. So I wonder if I do it here or if I do it somewhere else. So let me look at this HTTP options. So I forget, yeah, let me do that first. And yeah, I might be able to do it here. So let me go observe and then see what happens. So do I do a comma with this? And then see, observe. Yeah, let me do HTTP Angular HTTP options, I guess, right? HTTP client, there we go. Oh geez. Options, headers, observe, yep, this is it. And I can't remember if I have to do this. I'll just do observe, and then I'll put response, I think. Let me check this out. Observe response, yep. Not sure. I think I have to do it like this. So I'll do it like this just to be sure, and then if I get any errors, then I'll know that is what it was. Oh, it ain't liking that. Alright, let's try this then. Oh shit. It ain't like that. This HTTP. So if I go here on this get, and actually, yeah, let me put it on this post. So right now it's post. Oh shit. We got post URL options, and then the options has everything right there. And I think what I was supposed to do was use a thing like this, and then do observe, and then say response. And then let this thing tell me what's wrong. So it's saying a comma was expected, okay. So we did that, and we do the same thing here. Now, however, header. Oh, so maybe I need to do it like this, since now I have more than one thing coming in. Maybe I need to nest it in some tags. unused expression. Alright, so let me take a second to play around with this. Let me just do HTTP options, HTTP client. And then what I want to do is I just want to figure out how I can set more stuff on there. Observe. So at this point, I can probably just do a Control F and do observe. And here it is here. So it takes headers and it just does it as is, right? Headers, it should be an object as so, and then when it goes down for everything else, it should be observed as is. So I don't see what the problem is. So let me put another comma. So now I just gotta figure out what's going on with this HTTP options thing. I wonder, because if I put this in curly braces, it doesn't like that either. So at this point, I think I need to change the type on this thing to say HTTP options is of type HTTP. Well, is it a type for this thing? Use HTTP client.get method, the asynchronous. So let me hover over the get the request again, and then I should be able to see what's going on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to call it options and see what happens. I'm going to do HTTP options. Nope. HTTP client options. Nope. Alright, so I don't really have anything to fix for that. I thought having it like this would work, but when I do this, it seems not to like it. If I put it in this format, still doesn't like it. And let me try to read this, because it's the last overload gave the following errors. Is not assignable to a parameter of type headers. So at this point, they're expecting headers. Type of property observed are incompatible. Type string is not assignable to type body. So let me check that part out. But it seems like, I mean, from what I'm looking at here, it seems correct. So what I might need to do is, instead of doing that new HTTP header stuff, I might just need to do this. And then when it comes to observe, I might need to just do this. No, that's not correct. Oh, wait a second. Observe response. Yeah, okay. So it can be body, events, or response. And this HTTP headers thing has just got me a little confused. I think this is an array of stuff. So using that HTTP headers thing was not incorrect. So this is actually fine. Yeah, so that's fine there, and it is comma separated. One thing I'm thinking is like maybe I spelled observe wrong, but that even looks fine. Observe, right? I know my spelling isn't that bad. And then we close that thing out just as we did before. But for some reason, it's just not liking this overload that I got there. And let me try to use the double string, double quote, I guess. Nope, not even liking that. So that's definitely not a factor. I feel a little stupid that it's taking me this long to figure out how this is supposed to go. As a kind of a backup, I can always do this as well. I can just take that out completely and then drop it in directly. And when we get here, wait, property assignment expected. Oh yeah, I forget, I missed the thing there. So now everything looks fine. I don't know why I have to do it this way, but you know, that's just what it is. It might actually tell us over here why we can't do it a certain way. So the method get method takes two arguments: the import URL from which to fetch, and an options object that you can use to configure the request. And I think that might be the issue there. So when we do post, right, you got to do the URL, the body, and then the options. And in this particular case, we had something for the options, but it didn't like it. When we pasted it in directly, it seemed to like it. So either something is mismatched up here, but again, we copied and pasted this literally, so I doubt it. Actually, I think I know what it was. We gotta do options is like that, possibly, because when we look here, this is what the options do. However, I don't see this thing in action. Yeah, I don't see it in action at all. Up here we go. Options, response type, and here we go with the part that was telling us what we had to do. The types of the observe and response options are string unions rather than plain strings. So I think this is the part I was reading yesterday that I don't think I fully grasped until now. So let's go ahead and take a look. So since they're not plain, so this can cause confusion. For example, putting this object in here as it is right here won't work when we create this constant and try to drop it in. In the second case, TypeScript infers the type of options to be an object of response in a string. The type is too wide to pass to the HTTP client get, which is expecting the type of response type to be one of the specific strings. What is expecting the type? Oh, okay, so it's expecting the type to be one of the specific strings, meaning it's probably expecting the type to be like text or something like that. HTTP client is typed explicitly this way so that the compiler can report the correct return type based on the options you provided. Use as const to let TypeScript know that you really do mean to use a constant string type. Okay, so let's try this. So I think that was the error here, as const, right? So if we do that, remove this, I believe. Let me grab all this and then just do this dot HTTP options, I believe. And I think the thing here is that, yeah, I changed that from equal sign. There we go. And yep, that's it. That is literally it. So it's more so I still don't get what it means. It's something about the way it's written. So it's interpreting this to be a string. So maybe it's like a string object that's supposed to be of this specific type, as opposed to a constant that has this string value. So with that being said, code's running, everything looks fine. So now let's go back over here. And oh, I forgot to mention before, that backdrop option is pretty much this grayed out area. And what this really does is, I don't think the backdrop itself does this, but it just gives it a color. Because as of right now, we can't click anything, and that's thanks to the overlay. So now when we look at the error, we can actually see a whole lot more. Actually, I don't see a lot of the other stuff, but because at this point we're getting everything. Error, can't find a differ supporting. Actually, let me dismiss this and do it again. There we go. Actually, that didn't work. So I thought if we got the full response back, we would have an issue. But in this case, let's try body and see if that gives us anything. So we can reserve response or the body. So if that doesn't give us what we need, then not sure how we'll proceed. So we're getting slightly different stuff though, I think. So we change it to response. Let's take a look at this and try to keep it nested in our mind. So headers, so let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Really this error is supposed to tell us what is wrong. That's why I want it so badly. But we may not be able to help it. So now when we do this, we get this object here, and that's not actually what I want. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove that because we don't need that. Let me see what other options we have. So we do have a response type, which we can change that, which might be better. If we can do response type is going to be JSON response type. If we make this JSON, that should help us parsing a lot easier because now it's just showing an object, and JSON might need to be capitalized. Nope. So let's save that and see what happens. And then if not, we have some options here because now we can take what we're getting back. So right now it's like, oh, you got an object, let's change it back to type text. And I think it didn't like that. Thought that was an option. Oh, yeah. Oh, so here we go here. Yeah. Cannot find a differ supporting object. ID. So this is the ID I think that we're sending in. Actually, cannot find a differ supporting object of type string. I don't even know what that means. Oh, so I think that's a different thing that's failing there. Oh yeah, here we go. Look at that. This is what I was looking for. So now we're getting some different information. So now, don't really care about the header, right? The header's already automatically set. So if anything goes wrong there, we'll find it out here. We got our status text, which tells us what's going on. We got our URL. We know it didn't go through. We got our a name for it. We got a message, and the message. Actually, we can skip the message, and we can just get this error thing. And the thing I like about this is that pretty much what we can do is we can drop down into this error thing because it's saying. Actually, this is pretty deep. Now that I look at it, it took all of that information and nested it further down. So let me try this as JSON one more time because I think I got confused when I was looking at the previous pop-up from this category stuff, I think. Oh, nope, still doesn't recognize it because it's of an object. So let's say HTTP error response error dot error JSON not recognized, right? I guess it's because we have no idea how deep it can go. It so it doesn't know when you're trying to display that it has no idea what's going on. So let me see if we can play around with some formatting to get this to be in something that's a little bit easier to handle. Let's try array buffer. Um, array buffer. And I mean, this is pretty much how you figure out how stuff works, right? You just play around with it and you just change one little piece to see how that affects the data. So I'm assuming that JSON is probably the default type of returning this stuff. And oh, we're refreshing. So let's go here now. So now it's like, okay, some kind of object as an array buffer. So I feel like any type of data type is going to give us this options stuff because it has no idea the structure for this thing. It's going to vary based on your database. So I think the last option is a blob. So if this does not work, then we'll have to work with the text that we got and try to make something out of that. Yep, so text is the best way to do that. And you pretty much can see why. So I don't really have to go into an explanation for that. So we know that this is what we want here. And we'll have to, continue working with this. I don't know why this is failing. So there we go, right? We got what we wanted and all good. So actually, this is giving us a few things. So it's saying path content is required. Then it's giving us the name. So this error is, well, actually this message thing, actually hold up. It's kind of weird how this is structured actually. Let's see. It's all just garbled out to it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this, right, and I just want to get I'm gonna parse it as a JSON. So what I want to do is I'm gonna go over to like somewhere over here, say text to JSON. Let's see if there's like a online. Oh, there we go, perfect. Words right out of my mouth. Copy and paste your JSON here. Actually, it's supposed to be a text, but let's see if it picks it up. And then let's format it. Oh, look at that. That's beautiful. So now we can actually read this. And then look at that. So it's saying here that the content is required, the description is required. I think we do have a title in there, so that wasn't one of the things that popped up. And I'm assuming that by default, the oh, what's going on here? Observe is declared here. What? Property response type. I don't know what happened there, but we are pretty much getting what we wanted. So what I want to do is pretty much find a way to programmatically go through each one of these things and figure out what's going on. Answer that, please. Um, so let me check this out. So what's happening is right here, right? This is the full errors thing, right? So if we go down and just grab this message here, we'll have everything that we need. I'll say post validation failed, and then if we go down over to this content, it's telling us what we need, right? So if we just say hmm, and only one way to figure this out really, I was thinking like if we try to break this thing down to go to this first path and then just grab everything else out, it should work. But what it's really saying is content, hey, path content is required, boom. Path description is required, boom, right? So that's really what we want, but not sure on how to. Well, actually, I do actually have an idea. What we can do is we can find the index. So we can do something called like once we break the object all the way down to this thing, we'll know what we need. Um, or we can do something else. Actually, no, this is probably the easiest one. Because otherwise we have no idea how high level this could go. Pretty much for each error that we got we get this object here. So actually there's a few things we can do now. So let me just do this and look up where we're sending back that response. And I think the problem here is property response type is incompatible. And I think this is incompatible because yep, exactly that, right? So I think we might have to do custom options here. And what I might be able to do is pull this out, right? And I think it's just a matter of the difference between a post and a get. They have slightly different things. And then what if I do this dot http options dot, oh, I didn't think about that. So what I can just do is I can just do this and then just do dot headers, and that might not work unless I do this. Nope. Actually, yeah. So we're gonna put it here and then just do headers, boom. That's just, I wanted to do it that way so that way we're using the same setup and I don't have to copy and paste stuff in here. Since we're not really going to change much with this, or if at all, I feel safe doing this. Now this is a post, so I have no idea why this one is not happy. But let's see. So I think for this one it needs to be observe is declared here. And then what I might be able to do is say say let, oh, didn't like that. So then what if I did down here, we said this dot http options dot respond, nope. And then I'll do the same thing here really, because no, I need this to be consistent across everywhere because I want those errors to be the same. I want to be able to get those errors anywhere. So what I might have to do is somehow figure out a way to specify the type of this error. And the way I want to do this is to say error dot error. The C in here, I know something in here is using it. Errors maybe. I know it's being used in the code somewhere. I just don't know how. Because that's got to be the way everything is being set right now. And let me check here. Error handler hooks. That's not what I'm looking for. Constants. No. Okay, so yeah, this backdrop thing, I'll just show you real quick. If we set this to false, we won't have that kind of grayish black background. So for instance, like how you see now, it's like grayish black back here. it'll just look regular. And you can leave it regular like that if you want to, but the problem is going to be that if somebody actually uses this and does hit one of those errors, they won't know. Well, I think as of right now, our page didn't refresh because I think we have an error. Nope, we're good. So if I go ahead and save, oh, never mind. Something didn't work. Did I not save it? I don't know. Ignore me for right now. But I'm certain that that is what it's supposed to do. So there might be something else going on in here that's preventing that. But back to where we were. So, excuse me. First thing I want to do is let me just pop this thing back up really quick. I want to change that. Well, and what I'll do is I'll make this like a circle with an X. But more about that later. Here we get detail error dot details. So these are what's going side by side. When you see here, right? Let me save this. This is the error stuff that we're gonna see. However, error dot details. So where's all this coming from? If I go over to the component error injection token, and this is how we get our error. So we do need to work with this injection token and figure out how to get this thing to work. And as of right here, we said it's going to be of type any. What if I did HTTP response, well, HTTP error response? I wonder if that'll break something. And I want to see if this thing is going to refresh because it's not. So that means this isn't running. So let me clear that and just manually do it. And then npm start. And I don't know why lately, when I do my ng serve, my Angular doesn't automatically rebuild when I make my saves. I'm not sure if it has anything to do with kind of me using this kind of third party for WSL, because it's not directly hooked into our file changes. And actually, while I'm thinking about that, let me go ahead and save this stuff. So I'm not save this stuff, change it. So I can go down here, and actually this is what I'm looking for, WSL targets. And I actually just want to find the settings for this thing. So let me go WSL, I believe. Okay, I have to do it from the extensions side of things. So I go into the extensions and I use I think it's remote WSL. Yep, there it is. I think I have this one already installed. Yep. So what I want to do here is hit extension settings, and there we go. So now, if set, polling is used for file watching. If not set, file events are used. Polling is less performant but fixes the WSL1 issue that folders cannot be renamed when watched. WSL2 does not have that problem and is not affected by this setting. Okay, so this is one actually an issue that I was having because I think I'm using WSL1 here, but I actually need to upgrade to WSL2. I won't do it now because it's going to take some time. I might go ahead and do it at the end, time allowing. Problem here is this. Observe is declared here. So let's go and just put observe in there. I think that's really what it wants us to do. Just put observe in there. Oh, I had that. But I needed response type. I needed response type, and then do I think I can keep it as JSON. Nah, it had to be text. Text as const. Oops, that is causing a lot of problems. I think this needs to be JSON in order for it to work. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to find a way to work with this JSON. Otherwise, we're gonna have a lot of problems. So if I dismiss that, go back here, hit save. Probably need to give it a second to rerun this. Yep, there we go. So, yep, using WSL1. So that was the problem I was having. I knew I wasn't crazy because for a while I was actually like, wait, what's going on there? Cool. And now this is I think the issue with that is that it was running the pool in the background. So now I just got to figure out this thing here. Let's figure this thing out. So let's do HTTP response, error response, error response. Because this thing is not showing. What is the type of error object? Such license number. That's not. If user type wrong data, the error is. And this is actually not what I was looking for. So I think one of the problems here is that wait a minute. So it's expecting it to be a response object, so I might be able to have it there. But that's not specific. That's not what we're using. If I change the injection token, if I can find it, I don't know what I did here, so I'm just gonna undo. Oh shit. Wait, is this doing all that without any HTML? And I probably want to get rid of these two things. Because we're gonna modify all that stuff, so don't worry about it. Let's go and look at this. Yep, still object. So we pretty much got to do our research on this and see what happens. This is supposed to contain the error. I noticed that if the server sends JSON, then the error property contains that JSON. Is it that Angular is copying the body into error property? The document also says the error property will contain either a wrapped error object or the error response returned from the server. What is the error object? Is it some type defined area in my code? It likes to print the error property, but I can't. Especially for non-server error. I don't know what type of error is. But since we can see the body when we do the text, we can figure that out. You can convert JSON object to string using JSON.stringify. I get home response. That is a big step forward. But when error body show, this. So I gotta figure this out, and I'm not exactly sure where though. This is one of those things here. Because it's stringifying the error. So let me see what happens if I just put that error in by itself. And this is all happening in the sanitizer, of course. So it's taking the instance of error. I want to see what happens if we don't stringify it, because that might be why we're having the problem that we're having. Because once it gets stringified, it's like that JSON that we're seeing got converted into a string, and because we didn't know that when we went to go look for it, it didn't even exist. Well, I'm not gonna say it didn't exist, but it was just like we're looking for an object in a string, pretty much. Um, I think should be running every 5 seconds for the file watcher. But maybe I can force it. Yep. No, maybe not. Yeah, whatever just happened, I don't think it was picked up. So let's go in here and force it. So again, my apologies for this. I will be switching to the WSL2. So this will just be a temporary problem that we're dealing with. There we go. Compiling. And now it's having a problem here. So what I'm going to do is actually type HTTP response an array of categories is missing the following properties from type category length. In this particular case, we're having, let me find that post. Let me close all these things. Having all this stuff open is making it hard to find stuff. So if I go here and I'm gonna do something goofy, and I just want to see what happens. One second. So let's see what's happening. Let's see first if our change is picked up. Seems I can't even tell at this point. So let me just go ahead and get rid of that altogether, and then save, and then see if that was picked up. So like that, save, and check it again. So I don't know. It's I see. I gotta go and change it over in the TS file as well. And then we can just see what happens. So we're still having an error with this. So I need to figure out what type that is. If we know what type that is, we can work it and manipulate it. If we don't know what type it is, that's when we're gonna have a problem. The only other thing I know to do is, let me find that injection token again. I think that might be down in the service. No, the config, I believe. Error handler config. Constants. Yeah, here we go. So let's just make it of type response. And we might actually get a different type of error. Error injector token. So I have to look into all of those, what they mean offline. But this is what we have so far. Again, this thing is just not picking up all my changes, so just got to do it manually. And hopefully this thing will work. Oh jeez, it's like this is the most, ooh, that sounds weird. This is one of the more trivial parts of, do I sound weird? If you sounding like a little robotic there. So let's see if, I don't think this is going to change anything because, yeah, I think that it doesn't matter what this injection token is. It's just a way of getting information in. I don't think it actually does anything. Let's see, control. So we can do this thing, right click, and then we can go find all references, and it'll show us everywhere this is being used. And this injection token is the error that we have. So if we know what the type is there, then we can do it. And I want to say, what if I do this, right? Give it a type on that. To say this thing is going to be of type error. Let's see what we can do here, if anything at all, really. Not gonna worry about saving that. Down here, still hasn't picked up on the changes. I did Control Z. I don't know the difference between the two. Control Z just seemed a little bit more different. Sometimes Control C does not get picked up. And I just opened up YouTube because I wanted to do a quick sound check, and I don't have my phone directly next to me. So I'm going to try not to talk and do this at the same time. Sometimes Control Z doesn't get... Oh, yep, that sounds good to me. I just wanted to do a quick check because I did hear something that sounded weird, and I wasn't sure if that was being picked up by you guys. Oh, manually refreshing actually helps. Okay, noted. Noted. Actually, no. I think I already kicked off the refresh thing. Uh-oh. Now I'm not seeing anything. So I think that broke it, which is kind of good in a way. Actually, no, I didn't even save. So now I'm hoping that this may be what I needed. And we can right click on this error thing and figure out what's going on. So they got string, and then I wonder if we did like HTTP error response dot error. Oh, nope. It would have been nice to be able to see what was going on here, because we're not even getting the pop-up there. So I want to see if actually, let me try to refresh the page and see if that does trigger a build operation down here. Didn't think it would. I just wanted to see. Oh, look at that. Not what we were looking for though. Still not getting that thing connected. So let's change this to error as well, and see if at least that gets picked up. Nope. So Control Z, just clear the whole thing out. We're gonna clear this, and we're just npm start again. I'm tempted to put it back over here in the terminal to see if that will keep it going, but I don't think it will. And again, it's just because of the way I got Linux set up here. It's just not. I'm using an older version of this kind of remote setup here. There we go. So it should refresh in a second now automatically. Maybe not though. So let me just go ahead and do it for it. So now if I save, still not getting that. And again, we only got that error when, well, not this error, but this problem when I did this. So let me change that back, and it should be back to normal. And again, this isn't picking up on those changes, unfortunately. So let's Control C twice, and npm start again. So we're pretty much at the point where everything we want as of right now is working. The only thing that I wanted to fix is the way this background is showing when we. Well, I want to fix that error object, right? Of course. Some of those things I don't really need. We really only want the error, because all the other stuff doesn't really give me much information. So if I can strip it when I sanitize, I can probably strip it down a lot easier if I can get this working in the way that I want. So actually, this thing is giving me some grief now. So I'm gonna close this and then just do a whole nother thing and do it over here. I don't know what happened, but seems like our error just isn't even showing up anymore. So I want to check the post service, see if anything's going on there. Nope. Oh, I think the response type needed to be text, and because of that, we're having some issues. I'm gonna hide this right now because I don't think I use this. And with that, it seems like everything else is still working. Cool. So I just saved it. It's definitely not gonna get picked up. Alright, Control C, clear this thing, and then we're gonna npm start. And again, I know the response type had to be text in order for this to work. So let's see if this thing built yet. Nope. Let me try to. There we go. There's fireworks going off. Alright, so refresh one more time. Oh, now we have an error here. Oh, shit. I forgot. So commenting that out is not going to help me. So I just have to just address the issue. So actually, I'm just... I want to just not put it there for the time being. And what I'll do is I'll just say... I'll do that. I'll leave it be for now. I'll just take those off. And somehow it was able to detect that. So let's hope I change the file in time. Seems to be the case. Okay, so it was reloading there. It's loading as if we don't have a back end. I mean a front end. So let me just close that one out and try somewhere else. So it seems like we might have a problem on our hands. And you pretty much know you have a problem when... Oh, okay, my battery's just saving itself from exploding, I guess. Oh, so it automatically stops itself from charging. Cool. So I can just leave that plugged in because I haven't removed this thing in a while. So I'll let it be there. So right now, I don't know why this isn't working. We are connected, so I'm gonna stop it. There might be something deeper going on. Server's still working, so who knows? I'll just do it here. I'll do npm start. And again, I mean, this is a simple-ish problem. It's a simple problem. It's just we don't know what the structure is of the data that we're trying to get, and because of that, we can't proceed. Right? It's really hard to get that error stuff in there though because I just can't find it. And the first thing is like this. How would you catch both a 200, both containing headers, body, James dot record, that then So this is actually something else. So I'm not even gonna bother with this. But again, I think I changed something else somewhere along the way too. I think I changed the part of the code. Oh wait, it's working now. Oh, and look at that. Oh, we still have it coming back as text. So if we change it back to JSON, we're gonna have a nice problem. Because I really do want that as JSON. It really won't work any other way. So let's see if we find that service again. And I know you guys are probably pissed right now that I'm just going back and forth. But, and actually that didn't change anything. That didn't change anything at all. Actually I'm gonna do, what was there first? JSON, stringify, error. So else if error is instance of the, oh I see. So this is the problem here, right? So what I can probably do is modify it here. And what I'll do is I'll say, hey, let's look at this one more time. So right now it says error object, and since we know this thing is going to come back, we can just say, hey, if, and so we got HTTP error response, right? And they got the message, they got error dot message, right? So this is the same thing as here. So we can actually remove that, right? Or we can leave it, right? It doesn't, so we can see which endpoint we hit. So we can structure that to be a little different. When we look at status, we want that. We can keep this. We can go and say, we actually don't need the URL. We don't want OK. So we can actually just manipulate this. And we can pull that out as well. But the thing is the error. So let me focus on that because I do get sidetracked, unfortunately. So what we want to do is go down into if error is instance of error, details push error dot stack. So I think this is if it's a different kind of error, and in this particular case we have an HTTP response error. So here we're doing some things here, right? And then we're automatically mapping out those keys. What I want to do is modify the, so right now what it's taking is we have a bunch of keys and we're getting that, and now we're saying here on this and this is how we're returning a string format for that object. We're saying, hey, yeah, so what we did here didn't change anything. One thing we can do is we could literally just leave the details in as is. So yeah, so we're getting the object and then we're getting the keys, and what we can do is we can say, how can I break this down? So I believe what's happening is that when we get the key for oh yeah, all the keys are object. So right now we're gonna get another object when we do this. So I'm trying to figure out how we can do this programmingly. Object dot keys error, and this turns into an array, and we're automatically doing this. So I wonder if I can pipe it before we get the map, and I just want to do something to it, and I wonder if I can do dot pipe, and then I believe I have to import this. Oh nope. So I'm glad I caught this though. Um, and actually, I might be able to do something. I might be able to go console dot log, and what I want to do is I'm going to do error. I want to go and say, hey, I want to get let's try it this way, right? Let's do $. We'll do error, and since we know the key on this thing is going to be error, I want to parse this. So actually, let me try this. Let me do JSON dot parse, and I want to parse error. I want to parse all of that, and when we parse, what do we get? Text is supposed to be a string. So that's not what. Actually, let me do this. Let me just do error and see what comes out. And I believe the key here is the string error. Statements are not aligned. Fix misses semicolon. Shift tab. Yep. Fix object access via string level. Forget it. I'm allowing this because we're checking something out. Are we having any errors in the terminal? Oh, we're in the terminal and it hasn't picked up any changes. So we're gonna control C it and npm start it. So I'm hoping that I can get a glimpse at what's happening here by doing this. Since we already have the HTTP error response, we can go ahead and take a look at that over here. And this error can be of type any. So when the response comes back, it's like, hey, it's an object of type any, because it literally could be. However, we see that there is a bit of a repeated structure for that. So let me get rid of this now and try this again. However, over here in the terminal, we should be printing something out. At least I thought we would be. Failed to load resource. Try it again. So that console log didn't work. Let me see if I can put it somewhere else, because it might be of the location that I put it in. So let me go up one, right? So it's probably like, hey, on the once you map it, it's done. Sanitize details, and I'm actually gonna do. Actually, this is Control V and just log the error as is, right? Why not play it smart? And we might see the same thing in the terminal. We might still see it as an object. So let's not be surprised if that happens. And one thing that we do know we can do is that once we have this thing in here, we can always modify it. But really, we can have fun with that, because we can change details to just be one specific thing, and we can just fix that to be a list of stuff. So a few different angles we can play here based on the limitations that we're given. We can always just go out and extract that stuff. For instance, like how they have details, instead of having an array of details, we can just easily just map out each one of those and just map them together and do that. As you guys saw before, once we turn that error into a string, there was a few ways we could play it, and I closed out the damn window that had stuff in there. Luckily, I can go into my history and probably get it back in the state in which we put it in there. So fingers crossed on that. Nope, dead mission, but all is not lost. So save. So still showing up there. I thought it would have printed out. So this is what we're going to do, right? We're going to say, instead of, so we're just going to print out that HTTP response as is, and I'll just do it like this: HTTP error response, right? This isn't happy. Type of HTTP error response is missing the following from type string. And let me go and find that sanitized error. Okay, so I gotta go one other place to do this. And where do we define this? There we go. And instead of having it be an array of strings, we're just gonna have to be the HTTP error response that we've seen before. And it might break some stuff in other places. Yep. HTTP error response, and now we gotta fix this. Equals error. Boom. Right. And now here, same thing. So actually we can just pull this whole thing out right here. We don't even need that anymore. And then same thing for this. It's going to just be equal to the whatever error comes in. Equals error. And what we can do is we can just do or error, right? And then go over to here and say or error. And that should handle some of that stuff. Type number is not assignable to, I don't know what that is saying, but oh, not number or, there we go. And there we go. Oh, I know, this is fine. It's this part that's messed up. So once we change it at the source, thought I changed it at the source anyway. So actually, I don't even need to sanitize it. Now that I think about it, let's find the references on this. Find all references. This dot sanitize error. Let's just pull that out, and we don't even have to worry about. Yeah, so we can just do all that, right? So let's put it back into its original form. Oh, too far. So pull that back out, put this back into what it was supposed to. Oop, too much. Save. Let's put this thing back together. And then over here, we're just gonna pull out this and just put error, right? Sanitize equals error. Save ourselves some issues here and just save it. And now pretty much what we're doing is we're sending that object back. We're gonna have a few problems over here because of what we did for the details. I'm not sure how I'm gonna work around that actually, so let me do that now. And then what I'm gonna do is go over to the component that we created for the error handler, and the only thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put error in here because I have no idea how that's gonna come back. So hide that and hide this div, and I believe that should be all that's needed to cover our tails there. So now let me stop this again, clear it, and then npm start it. Not sure if I missed anything. I'm not seeing any errors right here directly, so we might be fine. We're just passing the error object as is, so hopefully that gives us the flexibility that we need, and then once we know what we're dealing with, we can put everything back into the original setup and just modify the error object as needed. But I just thought about it. It didn't really click until I started looking at the sanitizer and how it was manipulating the data. No errors showing up here just yet, so we might be safe. Nope. Jeez. Actually no. So what is coming apparent to me is somehow the stuff that I feel like my changes didn't even go through. Because, and I say that because, I mean, you see what I've changed and it literally has the same exact structure. That scrollable area should not be looking the way it looks. Yeah, there's just a few things going wrong there. And I don't even know where they got this BTB handler stuff. Oh, I see. So I'm just gonna try to load this thing in again to see if something just didn't get caught, because that error should be looking completely different. So alright, I'm a little lost here. So that didn't go back, that didn't come through the way I was expecting, even though we literally changed the whole format of this damn thing. So that's number one. Number two, I feel like some of this stuff is a little redundant now. We literally pulled out the sanitizer. Because once you get into this handle error, whatever doesn't get called in here just doesn't get called. So we got the error handler config, which isn't really doing anything for us, which, you know, one less thing to check. The hooks is something else. It's taken for each hook. So the only thing I can think to do is to put that back in there, right? And then what we're gonna do is we're going to try to manipulate this error in the map, because that's the part that we need to modify. So what I'm thinking is if I can go and say like right after this and say sanitized error dot details, and since now that we're in the details, I want to find dot index of, and I'm not sure how this is going to work, because we're looking for so we're changing the value of the, so what we're modifying this, so it's like right here, right? You got all your keys of the error, and now it's saying, okay, we're going to take all of those things that you have in there, and you're going to start that with when you're going to start it, you're going to replace it with this string here. So all this stuff here is literally just a list of strings, and that's why this shows up as an object, because the string can't parse it. So what I think I might be able to do is right within the map, I need to put my if statement, and I need to say right in here, and we'll say boom, and we'll need this. Actually, where's the, okay, right there. So we'll say if key equals error, I think we can type return right here. Turn that, boom, and then else do what we normally did. Well, if it's not equals to error, and then we'll say else, right? We're gonna do and we're gonna return this instead. So I'm actually gonna copy this verbatim for a second. Oh shit. Control V. Shit. So let me copy this again. Control C. Actually, let me check the code all the way. Control Z. Control Z. Yeah. So we didn't have to do anything, but I'm using return just to make sure the code just stops. So should still have it saved. Okay, so now instead of this, we're gonna do shit. The string. Actually, yeah. The thing is here. When we got the string, it's gonna be either or key, and I'm not gonna give it a type. And the reason being is because it is not a type yet. It doesn't have a type. It's gonna be, so we know it's gonna either be a key or it's going to be a type. I want to say, I want to figure out if we can figure out where that error comes from, right? If we know, so if we look at the HTTP response object here, HTTP error response really is what we need to look at. Let me go here, see if we can get into that HTTP error response. And the problem here is that the error is literally type any. It's hard to work with that because if it's type any, it doesn't know how to parse that. But since I know it's going to be a JSON, I think I might be able to work with that. So I'm going to say it's either going to be a string or it's going to be a object like this. And here we gotta specify. So if key is not equal to error, we're gonna say data is of type string equals key. We'll say let, and then we'll do this, data identifier data is never reassigned. Let's use constant instead. Duh. And now what the problem is, type string or object is not assignable to type string. Type object is not assignable to type string. Yeah, I know that. If key, oh, I might be able to do this. If key, if type of key equals string. So by doing this, we don't have to do that checking. Boom, and then I can put key back. So now that works. Else, and then I'll do an else if because we want to kind of assert a specific thing here. So we want to say else if key equals type of, and in this particular case I want to say object, and instead of that I think I need to do like this. I think, I'm not sure. I'm gonna do this just to be sure. The condition will always return false since types object and string have no overlap. So I'll do lowercase object because that seems to be what it is. Oh, uppercase, and there we go. So we'll do, don't use object as a type. Avoid using the object type. Did you mean object? Quick fix. I'll disable that temporarily. And then in this case, we know here that instead of doing this, we need to do JSON dot stringify error error key, or should I do parse? I think parse. So what does parse return? What's the problem here? Type object cannot be used as oh, it makes sense. Actually I'm just gonna parse it as is. Dot parse key. Argument type object is not assignable. So let's do stringify then. There we go. And I'm not sure if this is going to catch it, but let's see if it hits an error. I think we'll see it. So I thought I tried something a little bit more creative there. I kind of guessed a little bit, but it seemed like the way I have everything configured is that VS Code was smart enough to understand the types and stuff that was going in. So that may help. We'll find out. And again, I think that was only happening before because of, you know, what we had going on in terms of the way we were handling our errors. So at this point here, I think something more is going on here. I'm not sure if it's like something behind the scenes or what, because it's I don't even think it's picking up the changes that we made in our terminal, because there's no way that even after turning off the template that it's showing us anything. That's my real opinion here, is that something is gone astray. Because watch this, I'm gonna, and I can test this to see if that's really what's happening. I'm gonna just change this to status, and I believe that should be a thing. And then we're gonna stop this. And if this works, then I'll know I'm wrong. But if we still see what we see, then we know something more is going on here, and that requires further investigation. However, I do know that we can at least work around this by converting it to text. So all will not be lost. And again, it won't, I don't want to say it won't matter, because converting our responses back to text could definitely be an issue, because we're expecting JSON, right? So let's go here, and like I said, here we're not even getting the updates. So I'm not sure what's happening here. I'll shut down. I might record it offline, because I do need to use this somewhere else in another project. So I need to get to the bottom of this. I might just go ahead and, actually, before I say that and shut down, let me try something different. clear this out. I'm gonna close everything. And when I say close everything, I'm gonna close everything. I'm even gonna close all of these. I'll relaunch VS Code, and I'm gonna relaunch Ubuntu. Actually, no. I might use my. Let's see. So do npm run dev here, and then I'll go down here, open a new one, and do cd into app and do npm start. And I hate Windows Explorer, but just to make sure everything is different, I'm even gonna run this in a different browser. Localhost 4200. And I don't even know how long this has been happening, because I remember before I was pretty skeptical about some stuff, that maybe my changes weren't being picked up, and I couldn't confirm it before because I wasn't sure of what behavior I should have been looking for. But now that I've seen the behavior and knowing that some of some changes that I made should have at least shown the status being different. Once I saw that, I knew that I had a different kind of problem. So here it's taking me to the login because I don't have a token in this browser, which is already a good sign for me. will@gmail.com, and then it's testing one. Testing 1 2 3, and now we're good. New post, error, and then here. So I'm starting to think that this template isn't the template that I think it is. And another thing is that I do remember a while back I installed the library from, let's control F, and then let's do what's this dude's name at BTP, I think it was BP. Yeah, I think it was BT something. So that not showing up is a bit of a good sign, but again, that stuff, I was installing some stuff that I thought I uninstalled. I removed it from my packages over here, but I still can't say if it was actually gone. The one thing I just thought about is that my Windows terminal should be good enough for this, because I have Node.js installed in Windows. So I do npm uninstall, and I don't remember the name of the library. So let me go and grab that. So let me go into the history and check this out, because I mean that's the only thing I can think of at this point, because I've tried everything else. I've gone through all of the all the troubleshooting stuff that I can think of that might have this thing broken. I mean, not broken, but linked to this old project. And since it's still connected somehow, I just want to check somewhere else, right? Just try something different. Because if this thing is still connected to this, then I got some dependencies going on that I thought I removed. So now by doing this, I can ensure that at least I know my project isn't linked to something that doesn't exist, right? There's other ways around this as well, right? I can just comment stuff out and see if the code still runs. I mean, we already did that, and it did. I'm doing it over here in my Windows computer because remove one package. Okay, cool. So I think that was my problem, really. I was connected to something that I shouldn't have been. And actually, I'm just gonna run my npm start here because I'm more comfortable with this. So I'm kind of thinking that I thought I uninstalled something that didn't, and that is kind of why for the last who knows how long we've been running around changing things, thinking we were modifying something, and we literally weren't. And it just became apparent to me. So you know, an unhandled except okay, so that's cool. So now I gotta figure out stop this one, clear, because this one is not automatically reloading like I like. So I'm gonna use this one instead. And this one should automatically reload because the connection is different. It's not like a remote. It's wired directly into my file structures and all of that stuff, so it can watch my files properly. And we'll see. Oh, look at that. We're already seeing stuff. Um, where is this? So already I caught the problem. So we were linked into the old one as I expected. So we never we never even got started here, which kind of sucks, but um, you know, the more you know, right? However, actually I don't see the import for this. There we go. So now I can go ahead and import this. However, this one, what do we call this? I might call it admin error handling. No, error handling module. Um, return. Nope. So this actually should have been caught there. Oh, error handler module. Wordplay. So look at that. We never even fucking started. And now I'm pissed because I'm feeling like all those changes I was making before um probably worked, and I didn't even know because of the fact that I'm not even looking at the code that's supposed to be there. Now I might be having some different kind of error. Um, let me check Windows Explorer, and I'm just gonna straight here. So now we got a different kind of error going on. Hopefully, it'll show us to it's here. So it seems like somewhere else is expecting this. Post service TS. So let's go over there and get this all cleaned up. So damn, I don't even know how I didn't catch on to that sooner. Ah man, damn, that was like what two? I tell you, the things that happen, right? I can laugh at it now that I've figured it out, but I'm still pretty pissed because I've been working for like 2 hours and didn't even know that my code wasn't even up to date. So now we should be good. Ooh, yikes. Not liking this as of right now, but progress, right? And that's because I pulled out the structure for this. So now, actually, let me see this again. Now, again, and let me put this back. Actually, I think the issue here is that we don't have access to this class anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to his repo, go down to his find his CSS actually, components, get that CSS, and pretty much I need to copy all of this, and Control C, and go over to this CSS file, SCSS file, and drop all that in there, and just go ahead and save it. So this is a lot of styling going in back here, and this is all to make that class look, make that one little pop-up look the way it does. So now we got everything back to where we were. So now we're seeing all the stuff going on. So here, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to undo all of these changes that I've been doing, if possible. Nope. Seems like this thing is liking, since I changed a lot of stuff. Best thing I can do here is actually, I think I remember how this stuff looked. So, pull this out, take out the return. Actually, yeah. Boom. And then the rest of this just comes out. Right. Here, I can get rid of this as well, because string, yeah, get rid of that. And what's happening here? Oh, this doesn't need to be there. There we go. And just to make it look good, I'm gonna pull that up on the same line and check the constant. Is it the constant, or is it? I should have noticed it when the backdrop true wasn't doing backdrop true stuff. Oh, hey. That's interesting. I don't even know what any of that means, but okay. That's different. Sorry, I'm looking at the chat here. Somebody posted. So now again, we still got this thing going on here. What I wanted to do was to say, now let me try to console.log error before we even do anything else, right? So there were so many signs before. So many signs that I was not working in the proper environment. But you know, it is what it is, right? There we go. So now I want to check to see if the errors are showing, and it actually is now. So what that means is the reason why this isn't working is because of, as I expected, it was expecting it to be a string. That string turned out to be an object, and it didn't know what to do with that. Let's figure this out, right? So it's going to, and actually the cool thing is that we know what the structure is going to be now. We know that it's going to be something, it's going to be type errors, and it's going to have a message. And we can either, and since we know right here, right, this is what we need. Post validation failed, content path is required, and we can actually just use that, right? So what we can do is we can say, we can actually just grab that immediately. We can just go error, and I'm going to try something creative here. I'm going to do error dot error, I think, right? No, error dot errors. So it's a little tricky here. Dot errors. I want to try to convert this thing. I want to say error dot error equals error dot I don't know why I keep doing that. Error dot errors, and I think I don't have to do errors. I can just do error dot message. It was error dot message, I believe. And right now it's not letting us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do I want to try to map this thing, right? So I'm going to do error dot error dot, and let me see if I can work out this thing here, because if you do the message, right, what do we see when we get that message? So this is the message that we get. We don't want that. We want this. Error dot error equals error dot error dot message. So we want to restructure that. So change property on object angular. Mm, um, modify a property of an object literal. Change property of an object using spread operator. Properties are added in order, so you want to override pre-existing. Yeah. With nested. Let me try this. Nested. Update nested object using object that assigned. Change property with existing property. So I might have to do something like this, right? I might say const error message equals error error, which is this thing here, and we want that error object there, and then we want to do dot message. As far as they know, message is, I mean, it can be anything. So what we have to do is say, hey, the error dot error is now going to be equal to error message. Oh, this is a read only property. And if we click here, we might see that that is the case. That is the case. So what might have to happen is we extend we might have to extend this thing, and instead of having either that, so that's the problem here, right? It needs to be error response. Or since we don't really need to change it, we just need to get it. So what we can do here is just say, hey, if it's, once it comes to error, we don't want to use that value, we want to get the message. So what we can probably do is we can go back here like how we did before, and then we'll just say if, well, that's never, we're never going to do that. We just want to say if key equals error. So just like I did before, right? We're gonna say if the key is error, we want to change it, and then otherwise we'll just do the usual stuff. Let's say, oh, did I lose that? I sure did. Need to get all that. So if key equals error, we're gonna say error equals key dot error dot message. Actually, I might just do this. Error dot message, and now that's pretty clear. I think what happened here is that we're missing a closing parentheses, and that here they want a space. Here, unused expression, expected assignment, or a function call. So we'll just say return. I think that might be what we need there. Else we're going to return the normal values. And in this particular case, I believe it was key. So now we know that we're tethered in. So we know that we know what we're changing. The one thing I didn't pay attention to was if our error status was showing up there. And yeah, it's gone. So now it's undefined. So now we're getting close, right? Let's do this, right? Let's go. So let's take it back a notch, and we'll just do error.error, right? And see what that's got. And we might have to do something else. We might have to do like JSON.stringify or something. Yeah, so it's undefined at this point. So what if we say, oh, I think I know what that was. It's this that's undefined. So let me pull all that stuff out because it doesn't really matter. This is what we want. And since we're using read-only stuff, it should be fine. Oh, there we go. Boom, look at that. Post validation failed. Content path content is required. Description path is required. So what we can probably do is split this thing, and we already know what's going on, and so now we have complete control over this, which for me it makes me happy because now I know, right? We can do a few more things. I mean, what they did here was a little bit long-winded. They gave us a bunch of extra stuff that we may or may not want. For instance, what they got here is it can change, right? They kept this details things pretty broad, I guess, in the sense like, hey, different errors are going to do different things, right? So that's one thing. I just don't like the way this looks, so we can always clean it up a bit more. We can always, so we can dismiss. I might have a button that says, oh, we got more happening now. So what I might do is, I do like the way this modal looks, I'm not gonna lie. So I'll keep this as is, but I do want to change the, actually let me see if my class stuff is still in effect here. This is a bit random, but I'm just curious to see. It doesn't say anything about font size, so I'll leave it alone for now. And yeah, I mean, this is pretty much what I've bargained for so far. I don't want the headers and all that other stuff, but so I might be able to sanitize that here. I might be able to be like, yo, take off. We can do maybe like error, and let's just see what we can do on this thing, right? Error dot, and it's pretty strict right now, right? We can't really do anything with this. So I mean that's fine. We pretty much got enough going on here. Um, my bad that I didn't catch on to this stuff sooner. And right here, the reason why this error.status didn't work is because we didn't link to it direct. So one thing that we can do is we can always go. Oh, we just never changed it. So I might be able to go here and change status, right? And this will be status. Um, let's see. We're going to change it over here in the interface, right? It's me status, and it's technically a number, but I'll leave it be for now. And what's the problem here? Property status does not exist on type error or HTTP response. I think this is actually default stuff here. However, message does exist on both. And it really just doesn't exist on type error, which is why they stuck with the error message. I guess I'll live with it for now. So yeah, I mean that's it pretty much. We can always change the type of errors going on there. So much that can be done, right? But I'm satisfied with what we have as of right now, so I'm not gonna fuck it up. I honestly have no idea what this is, what it's even talking about. Um, Post component template, refresh component. So I don't even know what this error is. So I can't really say for sure. Cannot find a differ supporting object of type object. NG4 only supports binding to iterables, such as this. So I don't know what this is here. It might be a hook. It might be this hook here that's happening on this. So it's like ng4 let detail of error dot details. I think that's like a premature error that's happening because on, let's click this. Oh, here we go. Get an error here, and I think the error there is because we're not authenticated. Oh, there it is. It was coming in. It took a while, but here we go. Come on. Any minute now. Kind of weird there how that worked. Oh, there we go. I don't know. This stuff is weird. There we go. So what I'm gonna do is, so it's got something to do with this stuff here, and I think it's because the way I changed the service. So if I go back to this post service, what do? We didn't give this thing any options. This thing needs to be authenticated. One. So if we go this dot http options, oh, it's happening again now. Weird. Oh, because we're not using text. So let this thing update. Did I save it? Yeah, I saved it. I didn't look at it long enough to see if it picked up, but I'll just control C. stop it, clear, and then run it again, just to make sure you know I didn't miss anything. So in a second, oh okay, perfect. So it's picking up a little faster there. Um, so I think, I mean, I'm happy pretty much. This has been bugging me for what, weeks now? What, maybe a week actually. So this whole week was just focused on trying to get this thing in, and I'm happy. Like I said, I can't stress enough how happy I'm to have it gotten in now, as opposed to waiting for later. Um, cannot. Honestly, I don't even know what this is. So let me just grab this because I think this is a different kind of error. It's definitely not anything dealing with. Well, I'm not gonna say it's definitely not, but I don't know. I don't know what this is. So what I might have done is the way I got my get set up. I might need to put this. No, this is a Wait, I don't even know which one is failing. So before I say that, let me figure that one out first. Um, cannot find differ for. I don't even see. So it's something in the admin module at execute template. So it's something going on there. This dot issue types equals maintenance dot service get cannot find the resolution, blah 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 blah. You probably meant result on the return type. Oh, I probably should have made that in a sync call there in the template. So sometimes when you're dealing with asynchronous data, you gotta tell your stuff here that your data is asynchronous as well. But I don't have. Oh, here it is here. So right here, I need to do a pipe and make it async. And what that does is it says, hey, you know, this is going to be loaded dynamically, meaning the data might not be there initially. And I might even be able to put a question mark on the on this. Because already this is pretty much what's happening there. See if we refreshed. Yeah, I think we did. So now I go here and check it out. We're still getting that error. So now we're getting something different. Invalid argument object for pipe async pipe at invalid pipe argument error. Alright, that's different. So maybe I don't need to async it. But something's definitely going on here. It's definitely with the way this is coming in. So I might actually, I think I need to put it here actually. And then you also put question mark. So see if it's there. That keeps you from having that null pointer. So now we're getting it again. And this time, I don't know. Because at this point, it is an object that we're working with. We're doing the ng for this kind of stuff. The only thing I can think is that maybe, based on your JSON model from Postman, you should iterate over the result property, which is the current array model. So I should probably look at those categories, and I'll use Postman to do that. So let's go Postman, and let's just see how that wait I'm going Postman and just see how this data is coming in. Depending on how that's coming in, that can tell us a lot about how we need to fix this. I don't see. Oh, I see. So he made this an observable, which is probably smarter. So let's try this. So we'll say categories, right? And it's going to be an observable of a category array, right? And then here we need to go over to the post service and try the same thing, category. And actually it's not in the post, it's in the get. But actually we already know this, so but we know we're sending out a category array, so we can do that there. And then over here in the get, we know we're doing the same thing, category array. So that's, and then here it's saying HTTP response category is missing the following properties of observable category. So what we'll do is we'll HTTP response is missing the following. So let's and now he's got to figure out how to get this thing to work over here. So let me do observable. Import the observable type here. Oh, that seems to work out. Wait, this dot categories equals options dot body. Huh, check that out. And I should have saved both. I almost forgot what I was using Postman for. But it is here. I'm not even sure if I created a endpoint for this. So this is create categories. Still a work in progress, right? You can still create duplicates and all that stuff. Create, and this is a post category. And we want this to be in this thing. And then we actually need to create another one called, we'll use URL. And then we'll do slash, what is it? Admin, no. What's the other one called? Post slash categories. So do the same thing. It'd be post slash categories. Post slash categories. And send that, authorization to bearer token. There we go. Send. Oh, nobody's logged in. Wait, this is kind of weird. Body. Nope, everything's good. Here is a get. Authorization's good. I'm trying to figure out why the response doesn't look right. So one thing I do here is just check that URI. So ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with this. Invalid URI, and it's probably because I don't know. But let me just check over here in the app to see if this thing is working. Design for pipe, async pipe at, wait, what? Invalid pipe argument. Did I not remove that? And I already did the question mark there, so that should prevent any null pointers. Oh, yeah, I think I did it. Yep, there we go. Boom. So, happy, 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 happy. And just to be sure, right? Can't be too sure. Get rid of all that. Hit new post. Boom. There we go. Now we're back on track. Successful. Successful. I'll keep going to 11 just because I'm already here. So we've created our error thing where we get all this information here. The one thing I did want to fix before we move on is this toolbar. I mean our header. I had that thing fixed before. I don't know what happened, so I'm just gonna go ahead and clean that up while I'm thinking about it. Let me go in here in the nav, and I changed it to a matte toolbar that is now getting ignored. So down in here we got some CSS stuff going on, and first thing I'm going to do is actually let me go over here and just inspect this. I think I got some conflicting stuff going on in here. So and I'm actually just going to go and so we already got the nav bar stuff. So actually let's go here, right? Let's go nav bar whole. No, toolbar, and let's start messing around with this. So the display was already flexed. So bit of a redundancy on that part. Align items center. So I might be able to go and just say, okay, let me remove that. Keep that space in between and keep this. So I can already go ahead and modify that. However, when it came to the background and all that stuff, we got to override that because that is what's happening to us now. So when I go over, actually let's look at these buttons too. Somehow our buttons are not working. So let's see what we got. Let's look here. Did we even put the matte buttons on this stuff? Let's check. Nope. Matte toolbar module, matte button module. That's probably the biggest one there. And did we need anything else? Let me check the HTML for this. Yep, there we go. So matte button should have at least done something here. And you got it up in the nav module now. So now it knows it's got the common module there. Let's look at the posts over here. So admin module. Actually, let me see what other kind of stuff we were using in that TS files here. I'm actually gonna just try to stay here exclusively. No need to look at the TS, and just keep this nav module open. We might need to pull something else in. So right now we just got matte toolbar and button. Buttons are pretty hideous, and these are somehow being overwritten. I don't know why I'm using these square braces, but you know, I'll leave it. So we go here. I'm just gonna refresh it. So buttons are still being fugly. Font size set. That matte button stuff isn't working out for it though. So I'm gonna go to Angular and I'm just gonna type button. There we go. And now when we go over here and look at the buttons, we see this. We want basic buttons, and we got basic buttons, right? So nothing out of the ordinary here. And actually we can make these you can put those in I forget what the word for this is, but we're gonna put these in those A tags because these are links, not like clickable buttons. And we can still use a map button in that. So we're all good there. And then even the link, you know, same way, right? So, oh, there we go. Look at that. See, I work fast. And now what we're gonna do over here in the CSS, instead of putting button, we're just gonna put the A tag so that those get the proper font size. With the color stuff, not sure what's happening there. We gotta override the toolbar here. So what I'm gonna do is try to put the color here. And before I do that, let me check the and I didn't need to do this display flex there, I believe. This I believe I did have to do, and we can always check it over here, right? We can go down, oh, not here. We can always grab this, right? Grab that component, see if anything's crossed out. So we did need to do this display flex, otherwise everything would look like that. So that is good. We got our setup there, containerized. Yeah, I think we're good. We didn't need to use like a mat toolbar row or anything like that because we don't have anything going down there. So now what we gotta do is handle this toolbar because automatically it's coming set with a color and a background color apparently. So we need to do a little bit more with this. I'm not sure what this color here does. It might be for like text or something. So what we're gonna do over here in right here, we tried to set it, but I think instead of color we need to do, oh no, wait, it is background color. So oh, this is background, so let's try that because we need to override stuff that already exists. So if it's not purple, then it's gonna be gray. So that's the problem there. Otherwise, we need to find out a way to say, okay, if it's not purple, then it's gonna be white, right? So what we need to do is say, we can bind to the class thing here and say ng class, and we'll say purple, right? We'll say, no, actually we'll just do this. We'll say get purple theme, and then we'll do a question mark. If it's that, then it'll be purple, otherwise it'll be white. And for our white, this is going to be the style. Oops. Control C. And there's a background is going to be white. And then the color is going to be black. And I actually have some like purple white, purple black to keep everything kind of, you won't notice it, it'll still look white, but your eyes are gonna play a trick on you pretty much. And I need to log out, but I don't want to do it just yet to check this. So I want to say that went through, but I don't trust this stuff anymore. I'm still pretty pissed though. I spent like 2 hours playing around with that error stuff when I already had the solution in place. You know, but you know, you live and you learn, right? So now I bet when I start, if I ever do, you know, copy and paste to that scale again, I'll be a lot more specific in how I do that, right? Um, yeah, I mean, so the only thing left for that is just to style it, make it look nice. Um, but I can worry about that on Monday. I just want to finish this thing out and have it working. Okay. So as of right now, it's still not doing what I wanted to do. If I go up here and look at the map toolbar, the color stuff didn't get set here. When I put the class on it, I thought the class would override it, but it didn't. Oh, I know, whites, duh. There we go. So now we've got that working. This looks pretty bland though, so I'm kind of thinking about keeping that purple in there. Yeah, I'm thinking about keeping this purple because this looks too plain for me. So purple might just be my toolbar everywhere. And then now for this, we don't even need to bind it. We can just put this over here with the rest. But I keep the white there just in case we want to use it later. Yeah, look at that. That gives them some flavor. And what I should do is use that binding on this thing. So actually, I don't even need this. Oh, I see. Um, and now that I think about it, if it's always going to be purple, then we're always going to use the purple theme. So I don't need to bind to this anymore either. But I'll still hold on to the black image just in case. You never know, right? So put that image back in white. And look at that. Now our page has a little bit more flavor. It's not overly plain. There's some things I can probably do, like add a little drop shadow or something on the bottom. We can play around with that. We got a little bit of time, so let's try it, right? Let's do, actually, let me do all that in the terminal so that way we can see exactly what's happening, right? So let's go here and do background blend mode. And when I do this, I'm really just looking at the logo because you guys probably don't notice it, but there are some minor changes with this. And this is actually some of the stuff that we see when we were working. Well, you guys don't remember. You guys won't know this, but this is actually some of the stuff that I was seeing. See, like right here, it looks a little clearer between these two. When you go to color burn, you probably can't even tell. Let me see if I can zoom in on it. So when you go to color, maybe it was just me. And I think overlay is the one I wanted anyway. So I'm still gonna put that on there just in case. And then if I toggle that off, nah, it's not doing anything. So let me get rid of that. What other options do we have? So you got background size, origin, image, color, clip, filter, backdrop filter. That's not what we really wanted right about there. I'm thinking about shadows. So let's do like a shadow or something. Box shadow. Alright, do any of these affect what we're trying to do? Nah. I could have sworn there was like a, let me see here. Background size. Nope, we don't need to worry about any of that. Of the additional background options. Let's go and see what other options we have. Size, shape, scroll. That's what we're gonna do. And one thing I need to do is make sure that this sticks. So I need to say in here, right? I need to say, I wonder if it's here or here. Let me do it here. Let me do position fixed. And this makes it sticky now. Oh, wow, look at that. So we do need to fix this. We need to say background blend mode is going to be overlay. Oh, this is perfect timing actually. Because now we get to see. You know, we want to make sure that none of this stuff gets overturned. I don't want any of this to be opaque. So what I want to do is over here, I think if I do like FF, or is it 00? Ooh, no. So this is like for like the opaqueness of what we're doing. Now that we have our background color, we shouldn't be able to see behind it, but we can. Let's do CSS background see-through. Background color see-through. And I might actually just be able to, this is pretty much what I wanted though, so I can probably just steal it from here. So let's go ahead and check that. Docs navbar header. Added their background, and let's see what they've got here. So same stuff that I had going on really. I wonder what made theirs different. Take the color off, it goes to blue. So there's probably something else under here making it do stuff. Component, CDK guide. So they got some other stuff there that's probably for I don't know. It's like a duplicate or something. So let's keep playing around in here. I think I've gone too far now. I wonder why that color was able to pop up there. Box shadow. Matte elevation. Z-index. Ah, there we go. Position fix. Top 0. Left 0. Right 0. Z-index 2. So let's try this. Over here, and I'm just gonna go. Oop. Oh yeah, that's exact. Oh, look at that, perfect. And let's just say what happened if I got rid of that. So now let's look into what the Z index is. Z index. The Z-index property specifies the stack order of an element. An element with greater stack order is always in front of an element with lower stack order. So pretty much it's like layers, right? You got you got stuff in order. So you got, this is the first one, right? This one comes on top, and then you're gonna have another one on there. That was why our stuff was kind of see-through. Because I'm assuming, well, let's take it all over here to the drawing board. That Z index alone isn't really what did it. It was the Z index with the box shadow, I believe. So I go box shadow, and this time I'm gonna do the same thing that they did over here. So that's one thing there. So that's all we needed for that. And then by setting it to 2, should put it on top of anything else. Unless you have like more layers to your stacking. So let's just go back, I think, right? So we can go here, right? We know what our Z index is doing now. Well, we know what their Z index is doing. If we go here and we screw with their box shadow, there we go. Look at that, right? So we take this one off. So it needs both of these in order for it to work. I'm not sure exactly how they work together, but it seems like one without the other. Oh, actually, just this one, really. Nope, it needs both of these. Not sure why. This one means like it's fine with just this one, but as soon as you turn that one off. So if you have one or the other, it's good. So let's just grab this one and put this over here as well. So let's go box shadow, and then I'm just gonna do Control V and hit enter. Oh, didn't like that. So let's do box shadow. Oh no, wrong one. Put that back. I'll do box dash shadow, and for the time being, I'm gonna go with black. But it seems like I need to do quite a bit more. Just looking here, they got box shadow, open shadow editor. Oh, look at that. So let's see if we can get access to that. So again, it's oh, I see. It's like different layers of this thing. So let me try to place those values in there. So we do box shadow and then Control V now with those values, and I think I can see something there. The only thing I can think of doing is to up it, right? Let me just put this in like 145. That's at 1, but it's 215, and then bump this up to 1. So now we can see the color. and I'm not sure why there's like layers to it. So the only way I can think to do that is just go over to CSS and look up the box shadow property on our own. So we go to box shadow, add shadows to different div elements. So, and it tells you kind of what the values mean as well. So you got your none default shadow to be saved, H offset, the horizontal offset of the shadow, the vertical offset of the shadow, the color, the blur, the spread, all that kind of stuff. So again, I know I want this one to be black, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. So for this, I'm going to pull these out and just work with what we have here. There's an editor that we can get, but I can't quite get to it. Oh, here it is. What I want to do is I just want to get this color. So I think I need to boost the opacity. There we go. 8. I'm gonna make it a 1, right? It's a little too dark. So like 0.6. It makes it literally a shadow, but it's a little fine around the edges. So we can play around with that. And I like to go to extremes, right? So that's obviously not working. What if we just use a positive number? Ooh, too much, right? 2, little much. -2, you know, that's about right. You know, -4, it's like almost nothing. If we did +2, a little strong, but if we did -1, -2, -1 seems about right, so I'll leave that alone. Let's see what this does. Let's put a 1 in front of it. I actually liked it with the 15. Let's put it back at the top as if nothing was happening. So once we add this box shadow to it, it seems like the nesting is a little bad. So we go, let me fix this, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually just going to hit and grab all of this before it disappears. Turn this box shadow back on. Let me grab all this before it's gone, and then go back down into the CSS here. And I believe we call it nav bar, but and then just put all that information right here minus this stuff. Just in case we want to change the color, right? So I want to leave that option there. But all this stuff should be here to stay, right? And then that's our shadow. So let's save that before we go any deeper. So now, as a result of having this drop shadow, or not even that really, I want to say it's this. Yeah, once we made this thing fixed, we got to drop this first element down some, and we can verify that as well by checking out over here, right? How did they get this thing set up? You can say, oh, look at this thing, and we can always look and see if they did anything to pull it down. And where does it start? Here. Let's see, background color. So to me, I can automatically tell from, well, if you grab the body, you're gonna get everything. Right here, this docs app is separate from the header somehow. I mean, from the toolbar. So this toolbar is actually in the, yep, look at that. So somehow the toolbar just doesn't highlight, but it's literally right here. And then when you go down into this thing, you got your container here that controls how this thing is set up. For Flex 1, let's just change this to, I think it's just for the dynamic setup for how everything's contained in here. If I take this off, it just messes with the responsiveness. See that? So everything is going to keep on aligning until can't no more, right? If I leave this there, it's going to, probably can't tell now, but yeah, you're not really going to be able to tell, so I'll get rid of that stuff. Let me do it like right here and see if it shows up anything. Nope. So I'll skip that stuff. But here in our case, we do have a problem because the way our header is, well, our tool, yeah, our header. Don't really know what other thing to call this, but our toolbar here is now fixed, and a fixed toolbar is taking over some space, that some real estate that it shouldn't be in. So if I click this, well, actually it's kind of weird how this is set up here, how the nav bar isn't the same thing as the, oh, that might be it here. So this nav bar doesn't have set space, but this mat toolbar has the space. And for some reason it's got padding and all that, but that's none of my business. So let's go and see if we can figure that out, why navbar doesn't have any space, but it does, right? Actually that might be something deeper. So what I want to do is I want to see if I did something like host, hop on the host and did something, but not thinking that's like the best idea. So if you did this and you did host, or lowercase host, right? And I can't remember if you got to do stuff like this. Actually, I should have some CSS that is doing that. Yep. So I don't want to screw around with that because that stuff gets pretty deep, really fast, really quick. So if I can avoid it for the time being, I will. And pretty much, as we can see here in this space here, that's conflicted. We can probably just add some margin to the top here, and we tried to automate everything. So if we just did another 20 here, we would be just out of the space of that, which is literally perfect. So that gives us a perfect setup, and I'm kind of inclined to put that thing as like a container everywhere. So everything's gonna have that container of having that 20 pixels all around. Yeah, I kind of want that. And I'll put it in the global styles, that way if I don't want it, I can always take it off. But yeah, that's what I want to do. So I want to say default, I'm gonna call it tank container. So this is something that, like, I think, what is it, Bootstrap gives you. But since I'm not trying to learn too much stuff at once, I wanna focus on this Angular stuff first, and then the other stuff will come. And I can't remember if I need a comma or not. We'll find out in a second. And then I'm just gonna go over here and just say, yeah, let's put a container on this thing. Because what and if you haven't heard of Bootstrap, it's literally just pre-shipped CSS stuff. Oh shit! What did I do? What did I do? What did I do? I put it on the toolbar. I'm not sure when you do this, when you use the toolbar, if you gotta nest it, because that's got really nasty. Wait, actually, where did I use that? Excuse me. Oh, there's another class called container, so I'm gonna call this global container spacing. I think that's what it was. I think I have another class called container and container dash spacing. And go ahead and save this. Nah, that ain't work. And now I have the problem. Oh, I see. I put it on the wrong thing. Put it on the wrong thing. Sorry about that. This needs to go on here. And now I get to put my div up here. And this class is going to equal container spacing. And I can always change this, right? I mean, it might be tedious when you think about, you know, all the different places that are going to be affected, but it can be changed. And I'm pretty terrible at coming up with names for these things, really. Um, that seems like 20 pixels wasn't enough. When we did this before, 20 pixels was plenty. Now it's being pretty picky. Oh wait, I see. It's got that other container in there that is overriding what we're doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just use that one and get rid of the one that, well, I'm not going to say get rid of the one, but what that one was doing is, we'll see, just check it out. Actually no, let me go up to this thing, look at container, see what it was trying to do. It was trying to do something like this, and we want a little bit more from it. And I'm not sure. Oh, I see. Everything had it. So when I put that container on it, it kind of pretty much ignored it, really. So I think I might be able to get away with it if I take the container off here, because now I can just do center. And I might be able to do the same thing here, but let's see. Nope. So let's just I guess we gotta get rid of that, and we'll just change the div. I'll just say container spacing, right? We need our spacing. And try that out and see if that is being applied. Yep, there we go. So that's all we needed to do to get our spacing. We got some flavor here now. I'm actually happy with that. We got a nice little backdrop to make our stuff look nice, and boom. I kind of want to fill up this space here, but there's nothing really to do with it, right? I could always change it so that way these menus take up more of that space. I could probably even make these go like side by side with this, so that way it's not as big. few different ways I can do that to try to get some space up in here. I might want to, you know, I don't know. I might have some other things that I want to do here. Um, this isn't a, like I said again, this isn't a final version, so it's okay for now. And if you actually look at WordPress, which is where I got the concept from, um, I wanted to be able to have something that was the same way. So let me see if I can find the blog editor. That's really what I want. Blog editor. So when you look at it here, the only difference is that you just have more settings. So you can add in different things here, which, you know, again, so they add their publishing stuff over here. So I might do that later, right? I might take, um, I might take and split everything down the side and have different formats for this stuff, have different, again, having my categories be here as opposed to in there. Um, I do have my add media buttons, and there's a whole lot of different ways I can play around and style this stuff to make it look better. And I can probably say, hey, the editor is going to come to about right here, and then everything else is going to be fixed in. And instead of having the save button drop down like that, I might just have all of these options already listed, and just do it that way, similar to what's going on right here. You got save as draft, all that different stuff. I can probably change it. I can put those buttons there where it'll drop down and do different things. And then once things become a lot better, I can probably even do a preview button so I can see what it'll look like. And this is stuff that is achievable with my level of understanding. Granted, there's always going to be a learning curve, which is never a bad thing. So I mean, yeah, I mean, we got a decent headway going on here. So I'm pretty satisfied with stopping here, at least for right now. This is oh, I forgot one thing. I'm sorry. Our H1 is actually missing, and I think it's still up top. So if we go and click on this thing and hit our H1, it is actually somewhere, who knows where really. So I might need to put some more spacing on that thing. Oh, there we go. Oh, I didn't mean to do 400. That's extreme. But look at that. And for this one, we just want it to be on the top. We don't want it to be on the bottom. So that actually might be what the problem was. It was like, so if we did 20 pixels, 20 pixels, 0, 20. And the reason was just that we want to minimize the margin on the bottom. So, and it's still adding that margin on the bottom. Actually, it might be these two coming together. Well, they shouldn't get further apart. I'm going to put 200. Oh, so I'll have to figure that out because I wonder if I do like position relative. And also, why does making a fixed header fixed nav covers elements? Maybe the screen. Your nav bar icon has fixed positioning. If you want to keep it fixed to the top of the browser window, you can add padding to the top of the about div Okay, so let's check. Let's try that. So instead of putting um, divs on everything else, we can probably just put some padding on it, and I'll throw it here. I'll do padding, and I really wanted to be padding bottom. So padding bottom 20 pix. What? Nope. Too high up. Let's go here and up, not here. Let's go here. Padding bottom 20 pixels. Nope, not working. And it actually seems like it rejected it. Margin bottom 20 pixels. So this is the navbar component, not to be confused with the navbar class. And I think because this element in itself doesn't have anything on it, that's what's causing the problem. So let me go here and do it. Let me do padding bottom and say 20 pixels or 200 pixels, right? Let me do something extreme, which is what I always prefer to do. That did nothing, right? But if I did margin bottom, that might do something. Nope, still nothing. And it's because it doesn't have any space. So we say height, right? Fit content. It's kind of weird how it doesn't have a size. Let's go here, right? When we go to our other components, this one has size. Oh, no it doesn't. It says auto. When you hover over navbar, it's nothing. I wonder if it's because the way we're loading this thing. Lazy loading navbar. There seems to be more problem using models or members and the only for child creates a module for room creates a module. So I'm not looking at all that. Your architecture of lazy load is not proper. You do not use a shared module for your sidebar. Instead, put it inside your home component and change its origin route to be default. So it is your global component. Then use child components lazy load it. So I think what would be better is if I took my, and I could be wrong, so if I went over to my, not the index.html, but the app, and instead of having the navbar in here, add it to the specific modules where I need it. And for instance here, right, when I call this, I need to put this up top, and over here we're going to import the nav component, or really we can just say we can import that nav module. Let's go straight and say nav module, right? Now we got everything that is used to set that thing up, and I'm really just curious to see how that'll affect some things. Not too sure just yet, but only one way to find out. So, and I'm a little over time. I'm sorry. I really am. Sometimes I get so caught up in this stuff that I can't pull myself out. So that didn't do what I expected it to do. So I'll just hold off on doing anything else tonight because I will keep going. um, so let me just leave everything as is right now, and I need to remove it from the admin module, and then go and add it back to the um, app module, and nav module, cool. So I'll go ahead and add that back, and we'll be at this tomorrow. So definitely looking forward to that. There's still a few more styling things I want to do here, but so far so good. And yeah, so you guys, well, I'm gonna work tomorrow. I might just record it and then upload it on Monday as like a special or something. I'm not too sure just yet. So there will be more stuff coming. Thank you guys for watching and staying tuned. Um, and I apologize for the time again. I really just wanted to get this done and end this week on a good note. Leaving this kind of open, lingering over my head would have just bothered me the whole weekend. So I'm glad I was able to get this done. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time. The stream's gonna be at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on the videos. I'm trying to make this more collaborative in terms of the discussions. So if you're watching this live, please, matter of fact, even if you're not watching it live, just go ahead and drop a comment. If you're, the chat is available, get in the chat, communicate with me, talk with me. I'm open to answering any questions that I'm able to, and if I can't, I will do my best to look it up, research it, and get back to you regarding that question. So feel free to reach out to me for any questions, whether it's development in general, how to become a developer, um, how to learn a language, whatever it is. If you're working on a project and just want some kind of advice, I'm here for you. So just reach out. Thanks again, guys.